I gave her everything she asked for. Every single time. I told myself it was love, that she needed me. But $95,000 later, I realized I was never her boyfriend. I was just her ATM. I was sitting in a small cafe in Cebu City, staring at my phone screen, watching the transfer go through. 50,000 pesos, about 1,200 Australian dollars, gone, just like that. My thumb was still hovering over the confirm button even though the transaction was already complete. I kept thinking maybe I could undo it, pull it back somehow, but the money was already on its way to Elora. My girlfriend, the woman I'd met 6 months ago on a dating app while I was sitting alone in my Sydney apartment at 2 a.m, unable to sleep, scrolling through faces of women who might actually want to talk to a 57-year-old divorced man with graying hair and a belly that hung over his belt. She'd been the first one to message me. Not the other way around. "Hi, Kenneth," she wrote. "You have kind eyes. Do you believe in fate?" I remember laughing at that. Fate. I hadn't believed in anything for a long time. My ex-wife Linda had taken that from me when she left. 23 years of marriage ended because she said I was emotionally unavailable, that I worked too much, that she didn't know who I was anymore. So when Elora sent that message, when this beautiful 30-year-old woman with long, dark hair and a smile that made my chest hurt actually wanted to talk to me, I let myself believe. I let myself think that maybe I deserved something good, that maybe I could start over. We talked every day for 3 months before I flew to Cebu to meet her. Video calls, voice messages, endless text conversations that went late into the night. She told me about her life. Single mother, 8-year-old son named Carlo, working at a call center making barely enough to survive. She never asked for money, not once. She just talked to me like I mattered, like my opinions were important, like I was interesting. When I finally arrived at Mac Tangent Cebu International Airport and saw her standing there holding a sign with my name on it, wearing a yellow sundress and nervous smile, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Hope. We spent 2 weeks together. She showed me around Cebu. We went to the beaches, ate at small roadside restaurants, walked through markets where she translated everything for me. At night, we'd sit on her small balcony and she'd tell me stories about growing up in the province, about her dreams of giving Carlo a better life, about how lonely she'd been before she met me. "You make me feel safe," she said one night, her head on my shoulder. "Like everything will be okay." I kissed her forehead and told her it would be. I promised her that. So when she called me crying an hour ago, when her voice was breaking and she could barely get the words out, I didn't hesitate. "Kenneth, I don't know what to do," she said. "My mama," she collapsed at home. "They took her to the hospital. The doctor says she needs surgery. Her heart, Kenneth, I'm so scared." I could hear her sobbing. Real, raw sobs that made my own throat tight. "How much?" I asked. "How much do you need?" She went quiet for a moment. 50,000 pesos. "But Kenneth, I can't ask you for this. It's too much. I'll find another way." That's when I knew I had to help. She wasn't even asking. She was trying to protect me from her problems. "I'm sending it now," I told her. "Right now. Don't worry about anything. Just take care of your mother." She cried harder. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you so much. I'll pay you back. I promise. As soon as I can." I told her not to worry about that. I told her family was more important than money. And I meant it. I really did. Now I was sitting here watching my bank balance drop and feeling something I couldn't quite name. Pride, maybe, or purpose. For the first time since my divorce, I felt like I was doing something that mattered. I wasn't just some washed-up consultant living alone in a too-quiet apartment. I was someone's hero. Elora needed me, and I could help. I finished my coffee and walked back to my hotel room. My phone buzzed. A voice message from Elora. I played it. "Kenneth, my angel, you saved her life. The doctor says they can do the surgery tomorrow morning because of you. I don't know how to thank you. I love you so much." Her voice was thick with emotion. Genuine emotion. I could hear it. I saved the message and played it 3 more times before I finally went to sleep that night. 2 days later, I was back in Sydney, video calling Elora from my living room. She looked tired but relieved. The surgery went well, she said. Mama is recovering. Slowly, but the doctor says she'll be okay. I felt warmth spread through my chest. I'm so glad, I said. You had me worried. She smiled that smile I loved. All because of you. I wish you were here so I could hug you properly. We talked for another hour, about nothing important. She asked about my day. I told her about work, about how boring financial consulting was compared to being with her. She laughed and said she missed me. Before we hung up, she said, Kenneth, thank you again, really. I don't deserve you. I told her that was backwards, that I didn't deserve her. The next week, my younger brother Danny called. He lived in Sydney too, just 20 minutes away, but we didn't talk much anymore, not since the divorce. He'd sided with Linda, said I needed to work on myself, that kind of thing. So when his name popped up on my phone, I almost didn't answer. Hey mate, he said when I picked up. How are you? Haven't heard from you in a while. We made small talk for a few minutes. Work, weather, football. Then he asked, so I heard you went to the Philippines. How was that? I told him it was great, that I'd met someone, that I was happy. He went quiet for a second. That's good, Kenneth. Really, you deserve to be happy. There was something in his tone that made me defensive. What? I said. Nothing. I'm glad for you. Is it serious? I told him it was, that Elora was different, that she wasn't like Linda, that she actually cared about me. That's great, Danny said again. Then, carefully. You being careful though, yeah? With money and stuff? I've heard stories about guys who go over there and what? I cut him off. Get scammed? You think I'm that stupid? I'm not saying that, Kenneth. I'm just saying be smart. You barely know this woman. I felt anger rising in my chest. I know her fine, and for your information, she's never asked me for money, not once. Actually, I offered to help her recently because her mother was sick, and she tried to refuse. So maybe you don't know what you're talking about. Danny sighed. All right, mate, I'm sorry. I'm just looking out for you. Well, don't. I'm 57 years old. I think I can handle my own life. We ended the call shortly after that. I sat there staring at my phone, my hands shaking slightly. Who did Danny think he was? He didn't know Elora. He didn't know what we had. He was just jealous. Jealous that I'd found someone who actually gave a damn about me while he was stuck in his miserable marriage with a wife who nagged him constantly. I opened my messages with Elora and sent her a heart emoji. She responded immediately with 3 hearts back. See? That's real. That's not a scam. 3 days later, I got a message from Elora in the middle of my workday. A photo. I opened it and my stomach clenched. It was a hospital bill, pages of it. Forms in Tagalog with numbers that even I could understand were high. Then another photo. Elora's mother, Lorna, lying in a hospital bed, looking frail and elderly, with tubes connected to her arm. Then another message. Kenneth, I'm so sorry to bother you. I know you already helped so much, but the hospital is saying there are more costs, medicine, extra tests. They say if we don't pay, they'll discharge her. I already borrowed from everyone I know, my cousins, my friends from work. Nobody has anything left to give. I don't know what to do. My hands tightened around my phone. I was in a meeting. My colleague Marcus was droning on about quarterly projections. I stood up. Excuse me, I need to take this. I walked out into the hallway and called Elora. She answered on the first ring. Hello? Her voice was small. How much? I said. How much do you need? Kenneth, I can't ask you again. You already did so much. I'll figure something out. Elora. How much? She went quiet. I could hear her breathing. 80,000 pesos. But Kenneth, it's too much. I know it's too much. 80,000 pesos. About 1,900 Australian dollars. I'd spent more than that on a single dinner with clients before. I'm sending it now, I said. Don't worry about it. Kenneth, I'll pay you back, I promise. As soon as I get my bonus at work, don't worry about that right now. Just take care of your mom. That's what matters. I heard her start crying. Thank you, she said. Thank you so much. You're the only person who cares about us. The only one. I told her I loved her and hung up. I went back into the meeting, but I couldn't focus. I kept thinking about Lorna in that hospital bed, about Elora scared and alone trying to figure out how to save her mother. When I got home that night, I transferred the money, 80,000 pesos. I watched my savings account drop and told myself it was fine. It was an emergency, a real emergency. This wasn't a scam. This was family. The next few days, Elora sent updates, voice messages thanking me, calling me her angel, her lifesaver. She said her mother was doing better, that the medicine was working, that the doctors were pleased. I felt good about it. I felt like I'd done the right thing. But something was different now in our conversations. Small things. She'd respond to my messages, but without the same warmth as before. When I asked how her day was, she'd say, fine, and then not ask about mine. When I tried to video call her, she'd say she was busy or tired. After a week of this, I finally said something. Is everything okay? I typed. You seem distant. She responded an hour later. Sorry, Kenneth. I'm just stressed with Mama and work and Carlo. I'm not trying to be distant. I love you. I wanted to believe that. I needed to believe that. So I told her I understood and that I was here whenever she needed me. She sent back a heart emoji and that was it. No voice message. No, I wish you were here. Just a heart. 2 weeks later, my phone buzzed with another message from Elora. This time, no photos. Just text. Kenneth, I need to ask you something, and I feel so embarrassed. My laptop broke. The one I use for work. Without it, I can't do my job. They're threatening to let me go. I've been looking for repair shops, but they all say it's too damaged. I need a new one. I checked the prices, and the cheapest one that can run the programs I need is 30,000 pesos. I know I already owe you so much. I know I have no right to ask, but I don't know what else to do. If I lose this job, we'll have nothing. I read the message 3 times. 30,000 pesos, about 700 Australian dollars. I sat back on my couch and stared at the ceiling. This was becoming a pattern. But what was I supposed to do? Let her lose her job? Let her and Carlo end up on the street because I was too selfish to help? I thought about what Danny had said, about being careful, but Danny didn't understand. Elora wasn't asking for designer bags or vacations. She was asking for things she needed to survive. Basic things. Okay, I typed back. I'll send it tomorrow. Don't worry. Thank you, Kenneth, she wrote. I promise I'll make this up to you. When you come back to visit, I'll show you how grateful I am. That made me feel better. She was already thinking about my next visit, about our future. This wasn't a scam. This was just bad luck. A string of emergencies that would pass. But they didn't pass. The next month it was her landlord threatening eviction. She needed 40,000 pesos for back rent or they'd be on the street. The month after that it was Carlo's school tuition. Another 30,000. Then her cousin got sick and needed medicine. 20,000. Each time Elora apologized. Each time she said it was the last time. Each time she promised to pay me back. And each time I sent the money because what else could I do? Let a child drop out of school? Let a sick person go without medicine? I wasn't that kind of man. But I started keeping track. I bought a small notebook and wrote down every transfer. 50,000 here, 80,000 there, 30, 40, 20. The numbers were adding up. I was 6 months into this relationship and I'd sent over 300,000 pesos, almost 7,000 Australian dollars. That wasn't nothing. That was real money. One night I decided to talk to her about it. Gently, carefully. We were on a video call. She looked beautiful as always, but there was something in her eyes. A tiredness. Or maybe a distance. Elora, I said, I want to talk about something and I don't want you to take this the wrong way. She tensed immediately. What is it? I'm happy to help you. Really, I am. But we need to think about budgeting, about making sure these emergencies don't keep happening. Maybe I could help you create a financial plan or a financial plan? Her voice went cold. Kenneth, you think I'm bad with money? No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying maybe if I what? Stopped having emergencies? You think I want to ask you for help? You think I enjoy feeling like a burden? Elora, that's not what I meant. Then what did you mean? Because it sounds like you're tired of helping me. It sounds like you think I'm using you. My chest felt tight. This was going wrong. I don't think that. I'm just trying to help. She looked away from the camera. I need to go. Carlo needs me. Elora, wait. She ended the call. I sat there staring at the black screen feeling sick. I'd hurt her. I'd made her feel like I was judging her. I typed out a message. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to upset you. I'm just worried about you. I love you. I sent it. She didn't respond. An hour passed, then 2, then a whole day. I sent another message. Please talk to me. I hate when we fight. Nothing. Another day passed. By the 3rd day I was panicking. I couldn't lose her. I couldn't. She was the only good thing in my life right now. Work was boring. My apartment felt empty. My ex-wife was getting remarried to some yoga instructor. Elora was all I had. On the 4th day, I sent her a message. I'm transferring 40,000 pesos right now to help with rent. Please don't be mad at me anymore. I sent the money before she could refuse. 10 minutes later, my phone buzzed. Thank you, Kenneth. I'm sorry for getting upset. I'm just stressed. I love you. Relief flooded through me. I love you too. I typed back. So much. We video called that night and everything felt normal again. She smiled. She laughed at my jokes. She told me she missed me. And I realized something that made my stomach turn. I was afraid of losing her. More afraid of that than losing my money. And that fear was making me do things I knew weren't smart. But I couldn't stop. A month later, Elora called me with excitement in her voice for the first time in weeks. Kenneth, I have amazing news, she said. My cousin Jade, she wants to open a sari-sari store. You know what that is? I didn't. It's like a small convenience store, she explained. They're everywhere here. People come in all day buying snacks, drinks, basic supplies. Jade found a perfect location near a school in a busy street. She says we could make good money. That's great, I said. I'm happy for her. Kenneth, she asked if I want to be partners. We'd split everything 50-50. The profit, the work, everything. This could change my life. I wouldn't have to work at the call center anymore. I could make my own hours, spend more time with Carlo, build something real. I could hear the hope in her voice. Real hope. That sounds wonderful, I said. When is she starting? Elora went quiet. That's the thing. We need capital. Money to rent the space, buy the initial inventory, get shelves and a register. She already has some saved, and I have a little, but we're short. My stomach tightened. How short? 150,000 pesos. I know it's a lot, Kenneth. I know. But this is an investment, a real investment. Once the store is running, we'll make it back in a few months, and then I can finally pay you back everything I owe, plus more. This could be our future, yours and mine. 150,000 pesos, 3,500 Australian dollars, more than I'd ever sent at once. My hand was shaking as I held the phone. Kenneth? Elora said. Are you there? I'm here. I'm just thinking. I know it's a lot. If you can't do it, I understand. Jade will find another partner. It's just, I trust you, and I wanted to build something with someone I trust. She paused. Someone I love. I closed my eyes. This was different. This wasn't an emergency. This was an investment. In her future. In our future. Let me think about it for a day, I said. That night I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, doing math in my head. I'd already sent her close to 10,000 Australian dollars. Another 3,500 would put me at almost 14. That was a lot. That was real money. But if the store worked, if it actually succeeded, then Elora would be financially stable. She wouldn't need to ask for help anymore. She could pay me back. We could move forward as equals instead of me always being the one sending money. And maybe, just maybe, I could move to Cebu permanently, retire there, be with her, build a life together. That's what I wanted, more than anything. The next morning I called her. Okay, I said, I'll send the money, but we need to be clear this is for the store, for building our future together. Yes, yes, she said, her voice bright and happy. Kenneth, thank you. You won't regret this. I promise. We're going to make this work, you and me. I transferred 150,000 pesos that afternoon. It was the biggest single transaction I'd made to her. My savings account took a serious hit, but when Elora sent me photos of the empty shop space, when she told me about all the plans she and Jade had, when she said, I can't wait for you to see it when it's finished, I felt good about it. This was different. This was an actual plan. 2 weeks later, I asked how the store setup was going. Good? Elora said, slow but good. These things take time. I asked if she had any photos of the progress. Not yet. We're still working on permits and getting the space ready. But soon. I'll send you updates soon. Another week passed. I asked again. Elora, how's the store? Still working on it. It's more complicated than we thought. Lots of paperwork. I felt a small knot of worry in my stomach. Can I see photos? Even if it's just the empty space with some supplies? Kenneth, why don't you trust me? I said we're working on it. Do you think I'm lying to you? No, I just want to see. I'm excited about it, she sighed. I'm busy right now. I'll send photos when I can. But the photos never came, and neither did updates. Weeks passed, and whenever I asked about the store, Elora would say it was still being set up, or taking longer than expected, or Jade is handling most of it. I started to feel sick, really sick. Not just worried, actually nauseous every time I thought about that money. 150,000 pesos. Gone. Into what? I didn't even know. I tried to push the thoughts away. I tried to tell myself I was being paranoid, that these things take time, that she wouldn't lie to me. But then other things started changing too. Elora stopped video calling as much. When we did talk, she seemed distracted, distant. I'd ask about her day and she'd give one-word answers. I'd tell her about something funny that happened at work and she'd just say nice, without really listening. The warmth was gone. The connection that had made me fall for her in the first place, it wasn't there anymore. And then came the new requests, small ones at first. Her phone was broken. She needed 20,000 pesos for repairs. Carlo needed new school uniforms, another 15,000. The electricity bill was overdue, 10,000. Each time I sent the money, but with a growing sense of dread. I opened my notebook and added up all the transfers. 400,000 pesos, almost 10,000 Australian dollars. That wasn't including the 150 for the store. With that, it was 550,000, over $13,000 Australian. That was more than I'd ever spent on anything except my car and my house deposit. I started scrolling through our old messages at night, reading back through months of conversations looking for something, proof that she loved me, that this was real. I found sweet messages from the beginning. I can't stop thinking about you. You make me so happy. I wish you were here with me right now. But when I checked the dates, they were all from before I'd started sending money. Once the transfers started, the messages changed. They became shorter, more transactional. Thank you. I'll pay you back. I love you. Just those 3 words. Never anything more. Never details about her day or questions about mine. Just I love you, like she was checking a box. And I realized something that made my hands shake. She barely said those words anymore unless I just sent money. Every I love you came right after a transfer. And between transfers, silence. Short replies. Excuses why she couldn't video call. One night, late, I did something I'm not proud of. I created a fake Facebook profile, just a random name and a generic photo, and I searched for Elora. I'd never done this before. She'd told me she wasn't on social media much, that she found it stressful, but I found her profile immediately. It wasn't private. I could see everything. And what I saw made my chest hurt so badly I thought I might be having a heart attack. Photos from a week ago. Elora at a beach resort, wearing a new bikini I'd never seen, smiling, laughing, with friends, having drinks, looking carefree and happy. The post said, "Much needed vacation with my girls." There were dozens of comments, people saying she looked beautiful, asking where she was. She'd responded to them all, friendly, chatty, engaged. I scrolled back further. More photos. Her at restaurants, new clothes, new shoes. Photos with Carlo at an amusement park, all recent. All while she'd been telling me they could barely afford food, while she'd been asking me for rent money, electricity money, medicine money. I kept scrolling, and then I saw it. A photo from 2 months ago, Elora and Jade, standing in front of an empty shop space. The photo I'd asked for, the proof that the store existed. But the caption said, "Jade's new store opening soon. So proud of my cousin. Not our store. Jade's store." And in the comments someone had asked, "You partnering with her?" Elora had responded, "No, I wish, but I helped her get set up." I stared at that comment for 10 minutes. Helped her get set up. With my money. My 150,000 pesos. Money I'd sent thinking it was for both of them. For our future. But it was never ours. It was Jade's store. And Elora had helped. With my money. Money she'd never intended to pay back because she'd never told Jade it was a loan. She'd probably told Jade she had the money saved. That it was hers to invest. I closed the laptop and sat in the dark. My apartment felt very small suddenly. Very quiet. I couldn't breathe right. My chest was tight and my hands were numb, and I kept thinking the same thought over and over. I'd been so stupid, so incredibly stupid. But even knowing that, even seeing those photos, even seeing proof that she'd lied, I couldn't make myself believe it completely, because if I believed it, if I accepted it as true, then that meant everything was a lie. Every "I love you," every "you're my angel," every moment I'd thought was real, all of it, gone, just a con, and I couldn't face that, not yet. So I did what I'd been doing for months. I made excuses. Maybe she didn't want to post about our relationship publicly. Maybe she'd had those clothes already and I just hadn't seen them. Maybe the vacation was paid for by her friends. Maybe the store thing was a misunderstanding and she'd explain it if I asked. Maybe. I was drowning in maybes because the alternative was too painful. The next morning I sent Elora a message. Casual, light. "Hey, how's everything going?" She responded 3 hours later. "Fine. Busy with work." That was it. I tried again. "I miss you. When can we video call?" Another 2 hours. "I don't know. My phone isn't working well." I felt anger building. Real anger. "Elora, I need to talk to you about the store. Can you send me updates? Photos? Anything?" This time she responded right away. "Kenneth, why are you pressuring me? I told you it's still being set up. These things take time. You need to be patient." "I've been patient. It's been 2 months. I just want to see something." "You don't trust me. After everything I've told you about how hard my life is, you still don't trust me. That hurts, Kenneth. That really hurts." I felt the guilt slide back in. "I do trust you. I'm sorry. I'm just worried. Maybe you shouldn't have sent the money if you were going to act like this." My hands were shaking as I typed. "I'm not acting like anything. I just want to know what's happening with our investment." "Our investment?" "Kenneth, I never said it was yours. I said I needed help. You offered. Now you're throwing it in my face. I read that message 5 times. She was right. Technically, she'd said she needed help. I'd offered, but she'd also said, our future, and you and me, and made it sound like we were building something together, hadn't she? I didn't respond. I couldn't. I didn't know what to say anymore. That night I lay in bed scrolling through our messages again, months of them, looking for the moment it had changed. The moment she'd stopped being my girlfriend and started being someone else. But I couldn't find it. It had been gradual, so gradual I hadn't noticed. Like water slowly rising until suddenly you're drowning and you don't know when you started sinking. I thought about my ex-wife Linda, about how she'd said I was emotionally unavailable. Maybe she was right. Maybe I was. Because here I was, desperate for connection, sending money to a woman who clearly didn't love me, and still I couldn't let go. Still I made excuses. Still I hoped. Maybe the problem was me. Maybe I was so broken that I couldn't even see when someone was using me. Maybe I deserved this. A week later, I was sitting in my condo building's lobby, checking my mail, when an older American man sat down next to me. I'd seen him around. Gray beard, weathered face, the kind of guy who looked like he'd been everywhere and done everything. You live here? He asked. I nodded. Yeah, just moved in a few months ago. I'm Rick, 6B. We shook hands. His grip was firm. Kenneth, 8D. We made small talk for a few minutes. Weather, building maintenance, normal stuff. Then Rick said, You been in the Philippines long? Not long. Came to visit my girlfriend. Liked it so much I got this place. Rick's expression changed, subtle, but I caught it. Got a local girlfriend? Something in his tone made me defensive. Yeah, her name's Elora. She lives in Cebu City. Rick nodded slowly. Good woman? The best. We're actually planning a future together. She's opening a business and, let me ask you something. Rick interrupted. How much money you sent her? I felt my face flush. That's personal. I know it is. But answer anyway. I don't see how that's your business. Rick leaned back and crossed his arms. Kenneth, I'm going to be straight with you because someone needs to. You're not the first guy I've met like you. You're not even the first one this month. And you won't be the last. Like me? What's that supposed to mean? Older Western guy. Recent divorce probably. Lonely. Meets a beautiful local girl online who makes him feel special. Then comes the mother's medical bills. Then the broken laptop. Then the business opportunity. How much you in for? 10,000? 20? My stomach dropped. How did you? Because it's always the same story, mate. Always. I've seen it 100 times. Heard the same excuses. She's different. She really loves me. She's not like the others, but they're all like the others. That's the game. I stood up. You don't know what you're talking about. Elora isn't like that. Rick pulled out his phone. What's her last name? Why? Just tell me. I told him. He typed something and then turned his phone around. It was a Facebook group. Expats warning others about scams. The pinned post was a list of names. Hundreds of them. Women's names. Filipino names. And there, halfway down, was Elora's full name, with a note next to it. Known to target divorced men 50 plus, uses sick mother story, business investment scam. Has done this to at least 4 confirmed men. Total estimated theft over $200,000. I felt like I'd been punched in the chest. That's not right. That can't be her. Rick took his phone back. How much you sent her, Kenneth? I couldn't speak. 10,000? 20? 30? 13? I whispered. 13,000 Australian. Jesus. Rick shook his head. You need to cut her off. Now. Today. Block her number. Block her on everything. Move on. But what if it's not true? What if someone else with the same name? Kenneth, listen to yourself. You know it's true. Deep down you know. You've been ignoring the signs because you don't want to admit you got played. But you did. We all did. That's how they win. I sat back down. My legs felt weak. I thought she loved me. She doesn't love anybody, mate. She loves money. And guys like us are walking ATMs to her. That's all. I went back to my apartment in a daze. I sat on my couch and stared at my phone for an hour. Finally, I opened my messages with Elora. I started typing. I know what you've been doing. I know about the other men. I know about the lies. I know everything. I deleted it. Too confrontational. She'd just deny it. Make me feel crazy. I tried again. We need to talk about the store. I need proof of where my money went, or I'm going to report this. Deleted. She'd panic and disappear. I tried one more time. I love you, but I'm confused. Can we please just talk honestly? I sent that one. She responded 2 hours later. Kenneth, I love you too, but I'm busy with Carlo tonight. Can we talk tomorrow? Tomorrow came. She didn't call. I messaged her. Can we talk now? Sorry, work was crazy. Tomorrow? Another tomorrow. Another excuse. This went on for a week. Each day a new reason she couldn't talk. Each day I felt sicker. Finally, I sent her a direct question. Elora, I saw on Facebook that the store is Jade's, not yours. Can you explain? 10 minutes later, who are you stalking me? Why are you looking at my Facebook? You don't trust me at all. I can't be with someone who doesn't trust me. Maybe we need a break. A break. She wanted a break. After $13,000, after months of promises, after I'd believed every lie. I didn't respond. I couldn't. I just sat there, feeling numb. And then I did something that surprised even me. I went to my notebook where I'd been tracking the money, and I added it all up properly. Every transfer, every amount, the hospital bills, the laptop, the rent, the tuition, the medicine, the store, the phone, the electricity, everything. The total came to 580,000 pesos. I converted it, 14,000 Australian dollars. Wait, that couldn't be right. I added it again. Still 14,000. But that didn't include the last few transfers. The small ones I hadn't written down yet. I went through my bank statements. Every transaction to her account. Every single one. Final total, 620,000 pesos. 14,800 Australian dollars. Almost 15 grand. $15,000. Gone. Sent to a woman who couldn't even be bothered to respond to my messages anymore. I sat there for a long time. Hours maybe. Just staring at that number. Thinking about what I could have done with that money. A new car. A real vacation. Invested it properly. Saved it for retirement. Instead, I'd sent it to someone who'd probably been laughing at me the whole time. Who'd probably been showing her friends my messages and joking about the stupid foreigner who'd believed every word. I thought about calling her, confronting her, demanding my money back. But what would that accomplish? She'd deny it, or she'd cry and apologize and promise to pay me back, and I'd believe her because I wanted to believe her, or she'd just block me and disappear. So instead I opened my laptop and went back to her Facebook. I scrolled through months of posts, her whole life laid out in photos and comments, and the more I looked, the more I saw. Photos at expensive restaurants while she was telling me she couldn't afford food, new clothes every week while she was asking me for electricity money, check-ins at malls and spas and hotels while she was saying her landlord was threatening eviction. It was all there, all of it. I'd just been too blind to look. There was one photo that broke me. From 3 weeks ago, Elora at a fancy resort, wearing designer sunglasses, holding a cocktail, big smile. The caption said, "Treating myself because I deserve it." The comments were full of friends asking how she afforded it. She'd responded, "I've been working hard and saving. Finally paying off, saving. With my money. My hard-earned money that I'd sent her because I thought she was struggling. Because I thought she needed me. And she'd used it to treat herself to a resort vacation. Because she deserved it." I slammed the laptop shut and walked to my balcony. I looked out at Cebu City at night. All the lights. All the people living their lives. Somewhere out there, Elora was going about her day not thinking about me at all. Not feeling guilty. Not caring that she'd destroyed me financially and emotionally. just living, happy, free, while I was here falling apart. The next morning I woke up and made a decision. I was going to test her. One final test to know for sure. I sent her a message. Elora, I need to talk to you about something important. She responded an hour later. What is it? I lost my job. The company is downsizing and I'm out. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm really scared. I waited. If she loved me, even a little bit, she'd ask if I was okay. She'd offer support. She'd say something caring. Her response came 10 minutes later. Oh no, that's terrible. I'm sorry, Kenneth. That was it. Nothing else. No. Are you okay? No. What are you going to do? No, I'm here for you. Just a bland, meaningless, I'm sorry. I felt something cold settle in my chest. I pushed further. I'm really worried about money. I might have to dip into my emergency savings just to pay rent. Another 10 minutes. I understand. These things happen. You'll figure it out. Still nothing. No actual concern. No emotion. I went for the final blow. I'm not going to be able to help with any expenses for a while. Not until I find a new job. I'm sorry. And there it was. Her true response. I understand. Take care of yourself, Kenneth. I hope things work out for you. That was it. Take care of yourself. I hope things work out. Not, we'll get through this together. Not, I'm worried about you. Not even, I love you. Just a polite dismissal, like I was a stranger, like the past 8 months meant nothing. I waited to see if she'd message again. Check in on me. Ask how I was doing. Days passed. Nothing. A week. Still nothing. She didn't care that I'd supposedly lost my job. She didn't care that I was struggling. She only cared when I had money to send. That was the only time I mattered. I checked her Facebook one last time. New photos. Her at another restaurant. Another new outfit. Smiling. Carefree. Living her best life. She'd already moved on. Probably already had another foreigner lined up. Another lonely, divorced man who thought a beautiful younger woman could actually love him. Another stupid fool like me. I sat down and did the final calculation. Everything. Every single peso I'd sent her. 640,000 pesos. I'd forgotten about the last 2 small transfers. 15,400 Australian dollars. Over 90,000 when I converted it to US dollars to really understand the scope. 95,000 when I added the exchange fees. $95,000. That's what I'd paid to learn this lesson. That's what it cost to realize I'd been nothing but an ATM to her, a source of income, not a boyfriend, not a partner, not a person who mattered, just money. That's all I'd ever been. I sat in my apartment for 3 days after that. Didn't go to work, didn't answer calls, just sat there trying to understand how I'd let this happen, how I'd been so blind. And the worst part? I couldn't even be angry at her. Not really, because she'd never actually lied, not technically. She'd never said, I love you and only you. She'd never promised to marry me. She'd never even said we were exclusive. She just accepted my money when I offered it. Let me build a fantasy in my head. Let me believe what I wanted to believe. And I had. Desperately, because I was lonely and broken and wanted so badly to believe that someone could love me. That after Linda left me, I wasn't just a washed-up middle-aged man with nothing to offer. That I could still be someone's hero, someone's angel. Elora had seen that need in me and used it perfectly, efficiently, without mercy. On the 4th day, I booked a flight back to Sydney. One way, leaving in a week. I didn't tell Elora, didn't message her at all, just let the silence stretch between us until it felt permanent. She never reached out either, not once, not to check on me or ask if I was okay or wonder why I'd gone quiet, because she didn't care. She'd already gotten what she needed from me. On my last day in Cebu, I packed up my apartment, everything I'd brought, everything I'd bought thinking I'd stay here, build a life here. I left it all behind except one suitcase, walked out of that condo and didn't look back. At the airport, I sat in the departure lounge staring at my phone. Part of me wanted to send her one final message. Tell her I knew. Tell her she'd broken me. Tell her I hoped the money was worth it. But what would be the point? She wouldn't care. She'd probably just block me and move on to the next guy. So instead, I opened our chat one last time, scrolled through months of messages, all those I love yous, all those promises, all those moments I thought were real, and then I blocked her, deleted her number, deleted every photo, every voice message, everything, erased her from my phone like she'd never existed. When my flight was called, I stood up and walked to the gate. I didn't look back at Cebu, didn't let myself feel anything, just walked forward, one step at a time. The flight back to Sydney was long, 11 hours of sitting in economy, staring out the window, thinking about everything. I kept coming back to the same thought. I'd paid $95,000 to learn that I was the kind of man who could be used this easily. That my need for love and connection was so desperate that a beautiful woman only had to smile at me and call me her angel and I'd hand over everything I had. I'd paid $95,000 to realize my ex-wife Linda was right. I was emotionally broken, unable to see reality, living in fantasies instead of dealing with my actual life. And now I was going back to that empty apartment in Sydney with no money, no relationship, and no idea how to fix myself. When I landed, Danny was waiting for me at arrivals. I'd texted him I was coming back. He didn't ask questions, just hugged me and took my suitcase. We drove to his house in silence. His wife made dinner. Their kids ran around playing. Normal family life, the kind I'd wanted and never managed to build. After dinner, Danny and I sat on his back porch with beers. "You want to talk about it?" he asked. I shook my head. "Not really." He nodded. We sat there for a while. Finally, I said, "You were right. About everything. I'm sorry, mate. Don't be. You tried to warn me. I didn't listen. How bad was it?" I told him. "The full amount." His face went pale. "Jesus, Kenneth." "Yeah. You going to report it? Go to the police?" I laughed. It came out bitter. "And tell them what? That I willingly sent money to my girlfriend? That's not illegal. She didn't steal from me. I gave it to her. But she lied. She manipulated you. Prove it. She'll just say it was a misunderstanding, that I offered to help and she accepted, that we had a relationship and it didn't work out. There's no crime in that, just stupidity on my part." Danny put his hand on my shoulder. "You're not stupid. You're just human. You wanted to believe someone cared about you." "Same thing," I said. That night I lay in Danny's guest room staring at the ceiling. Tomorrow I'd have to go back to my apartment, back to work, back to real life, figure out how to rebuild my savings, how to move on, how to stop feeling like a complete idiot. But tonight I just lay there and let myself feel it all. The humiliation, the heartbreak, the loss, not just of the money, but of the hope I'd had, the belief that maybe I could start over, that maybe someone could love me. It was all gone now, burned away by reality, and in its place was just this hollow emptiness and the knowledge that I'd done this to myself. Nobody had forced me. Nobody had held a gun to my head. I'd chosen this. Every transfer, every excuse I'd made for her, every red flag I'd ignored, all of it was my choice, and now I had to live with the consequences. I thought about Elora one last time, wondered if she ever thought about me, if she felt any guilt at all. Probably not. I was just another one, another foreigner who'd believed her stories, another deposit in her account. Maybe she was already working on someone new, some other lonely man who wanted to believe he mattered, and she'd do the same thing, tell the same stories, make the same promises, and he'd believe her just like I did, because men like us, we're not hard to fool. We're desperate, and desperation makes you blind. I closed my eyes and tried to sleep. Tomorrow I'd start over. Again, figure out who I was without Elora, without the fantasy I'd built around her. Just me, 57 years old, divorced, broke, alone. But at least I knew the truth now. At least I wouldn't make the same mistake again. That was worth something. Not $95,000, but something. The last thought I had before I finally fell asleep was this: I gave her everything she asked for, every single time. I told myself it was love, that she needed me. But $95,000 later, I finally understood the truth. I was never her boyfriend. I was never her partner. I was never her angel. I was just her ATM. And the worst part? I'd known it all along. Deep down. In that place I didn't want to look. I'd always known. I just didn't want to admit it, because admitting it meant admitting I was alone. And being used felt better than being nobody at all. That's what $95,000 bought me, the truth. And the truth destroyed me.